Lincoln Taylor.
What's up?
Welcome.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Dude, we're excited to have you here. You're one of the few people. Most of my life has been surrounded by real estate agents since I was a kid. Most people that I talk to every day, I have met in some form of another in real estate.
Yeah.
You are one of the exceptions to the rule. Sneakers. Did we do deals together? I don't.
No, actually, I remember what happened.
You
want me to
do?
tell the story?
Yes. Please.
So, winter came around, and, we got to protect our
Do you remember when this would have been?
16, 17.
Okay. So I would have just barely been getting licensed. I would have been an agent or a lender.
You were a lender.
I was a lender.
You were a lender.
So I was trying to get your business. So let's clarify that real quick.
So this is how it happened. So I get into one of our little sneaker Facebook groups, and
Shout out Hive.
And I was looking for some of those Air Force One duck boots.
Dude, I love that shoe.
Right, it's a winter
Shout
shoe.
out duck boots. Those are wintertime boots. Fantastic sneaker.
Yeah, I mean, they're amazing. I still have those.
Yeah, that was like right when they came out too, I think, right? That was like the first drop of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, you got to protect your shoes in the winter. You had to have something you can rock that's still nice but can get wet. So I posted in the group looking for them.
We're the same size.
Yeah, 11?
Yeah. I'm like an 11 and a half. My feet have obnoxiously grown. Like 11s are like very few shoes 11s fit me now. It sucks, man.
So you chime in, never met you before. You chime in and said, if I can take you to lunch, I'll get you a pair.
I did?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't even remember that.
Yeah. So I said, let's do it. We went to lunch. I'm pretty sure you brought them that day.
I was going to say, if I didn't bring him that day, then that's like really offensive. Like that. That's actually why I wanted to come on the show. You actually owe me a pair of duck boots. Let's talk about that.
Exactly. No, I'm pretty sure you did. You came through.
That's cocky.
Yeah. No. Well,
wow.
I mean, that's you.
Thank you.
That's you.
That's confidence. That's confidence.
Yeah. No, we had a good lunch, and I don't know that.
Where did we go to lunch? Was it somewhere nice? Probably not, because I just spent $200 on shoes for you.
No, I'm pretty sure we went Cheesecake Factory downtown.
Stop. No, we did not. There's no way. I must have had the company
credit card that day.
Yeah, I had the company credit card that day.
Let's act like we went to Cheesecake.
That's fair. Sure. Yeah, I did take you to Cheesecake.
Yeah.
I think it was 30% tip. I think.
At least. No, I'm pretty sure that's where it was, but I don't think you were in lending much longer than
No,
that.
so right around, that was kind of a weird time where for 3 years I felt like my dad had banished me to lending, right? Like I came home, did my 2-year service, came home from my mission and started lending 2 days after.
Really?
And I think for 2.5 years I kind of did it begrudgingly. Not at times, like I definitely made the decision to be in lending and not in school, right? Like that was definitely a clear distinction I made in that time. And I was working on edge deals. But I think ultimately when I look back at it and I talked to my therapist about it, what I was actually doing was sitting around and hoping that my dad would call at any given point and say, hey man, come sell real estate for me.
Just biding your time.
Yeah. And so when that didn't happen and that didn't happen, I just kept naturally like starting to say like, you know what I really, really like in this job, lending offers me a great opportunity, and that was networking with real estate agents. I've always loved that, and I think that's why I've done well at Edge so far, is because that's still what I really thoroughly I really enjoyed doing it. And so it was right around the end of 2015, I was like, okay, I went and so the way that it was set up is that if I was on the Edge Homes account, which I was working for a preferred lender, I would get a certain amount of transactions a month, for the most part guaranteed. I would take a reduced commission on it, and in exchange, I was on the Edge team, and I had certain duties that I had to fulfill. Right. So I did drinks, like I would fulfill the model, like I'd fill the model homes with drinks for a little while. Like I paid my dues, and eventually I was like, okay, you know what, this isn't worth it. And it was around that same time where I asked to actually be taken off of that given business. Oh, wow. Damn it, Nico. That was a clip. Nico's laughing because he knows that was about to be a clip. He's visioning it in his head.
How many more of those are we going to hear today?
Oh, I don't know. I'm almost 30. I thought we'd be through that by now.
Nope.
Damn it. Nope. No, but it was around that same time where I went in and I asked to be taken off that Edge Homes account. And it was Corey Shelley, who now is like in charge of all of First Colony. He looked at me and we actually had a 2-hour conversation about how big of an idiot I was at the time. And it was the first time where I think I actually made the decision, like, okay, I'm actually going to do this.
Yeah. And
it was around that time, I was like, okay, I'm going to start spending money on my business, which is buying shoes for somebody, because I knew that ultimately would stick with you longer than the lunch did, or longer than, because we get asked to lunch all the time, right?
Oh, dude, 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's usually not original. It's not unique.
Nope.
So it became a question of, okay, how can I stand out? It's take someone to the Cheesecake Factory, and it's talk about anything other than business, and it's
Nobody else
trying to be
bought me
normal.
shoes.
Well, and the dumb part is you've probably had people spend more money on you than what I spent on those shoes trying to get business, right?
All you lenders out there, I'm a size 11. I like shoes.
Well, and it's well, yes, but like sometimes, and I think that's my favorite part about what the market resetting is actually going to be, is you're going to have to get good at like listening to people and paying attention to what they actually care about, instead of just spewing what you feel like they need to know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a checklist for every job in this business for what a lot of people have told you you have to do to be successful. And I believe them that that's probably true for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, it's not true. And you find a niche that you're really passionate about and a way of doing it that you love, that's how you go next level.
So do you do a lot of deals with people that you would say are into sneakers?
Over the years, I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, David and I, good buddy of mine, we both know David Earnhardt. We met doing a sneaker deal years and years ago, and we become really good friends. So I met a lot of cool people doing sneakers and stuff. Done a lot of deals. Could do more, for sure. But it's definitely a niche of like when you meet somebody that likes something you like that and understands you, you kind of have that trust. And
well, it's important to being authentic, right?
Yeah.
Like it's part of authentic's not the right word. There's the Broke Agent. Do you follow them on Instagram?
Who?
The Broke Agent. Those guys. The Broke Agent
I've
Media
heard of
Group.
it. I've heard of it.
You should super fantastic people. If you're in real estate looking for like any social media guidance at all, they are awesome at putting out great things. It's not about being authentic. It's about being who you are, but also understanding the realities of this job, which is you do have to still be professional. You do still have to approach this business professionally with even with hobbyists like that, right? Like So
no, absolutely. I mean, everyone that you work with deserves your professional self, even if it's your mom and dad you're working with, your brother, sister. Like deals go bad in this business when you decide to slip, right? And you slip into like, oh, it's my sister. I'm going to just hang out and she'll understand. No, everybody deserves your best. Everybody deserves your professional side, but your personality and who you are, what you like, I mean, it's got to come through too. I mean, life's too short to dress up like a stuffy realtor all the time, right? And just like act like that's normal. Like, no, I want to wear this to go show homes, and like that's what I want to do, and it works for me.
Well, and I think the other side of it too, though, is that if they called you and you're like, "Hey, I'm hanging out with my family getting lunch. I can come show you a house right after." Right. You're probably going to be dressed very similar to this because this is who Lincoln is. Yeah,
this is what I wear every day. So
I
at this age and doing this, in my 9th year, it's just like do it the way you do it, the way it feels natural to you, the way that you can be passionate about, and you'll be good. You'll be successful.
That's the rantings and the ravings of somebody that's been in the industry for a long time, though. How long you had been an agent for? How long in 2016 when I brought you some sneakers?
That would have been in my 3rd year in the business. I don't know if you
so you've been an agent for a minute.
I started in lending.
You did? Yeah. I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah.
1 year.
That was it. You're like, hey, I'm out.
You made it longer than I did.
What was it about that year?
So background to me, medical background for most of my life. That's what I thought I was going to do.
You went to school?
Mm-hmm.
ACT?
Yeah. What was that?
Did you take the ACT?
Yeah.
What did you get?
What'd I get? 27.
Dang. Is that the highest so far?
What was that?
Highest score yet, I think, so far.
Really?
One of my other little brother, Travis, I don't know if you've met him or not.
Mm-mm.
He got like a 32, but we don't count him because he's
doesn't count.
He doesn't count.
That doesn't count.
That 27 though was a solid 27. So
okay.
You took that, and you went to school.
I did. I went to I went to UVU for about a year and a half after my mission.
What year would this have been? Sorry, trying to give some context.
2008. About most of 2008, I was at UVU. And then I transferred up to the University of Utah.
Studying what?
Exercise and sports science.
Where does that come from? Is that family stuff? Is that like...
Oh, no, my dad's an attorney. That came from being an athlete most of my life growing up, getting injured a lot, spending a lot of time at the physical therapy clinic, having a team, team doctors and team therapists, and just thinking, how can I be around sports? Obviously, I'm a 6-foot ball dude. Like NBA was not in my not in my future.
You became aware of your skill set early on.
Yeah. So I was just like, how can I be around sports? Like that was always a passion. So a physical therapist or like a sports med type doctor was kind of always a plan from like probably 12, 13 on all the way through graduating with the degree in exercise and sports science
from the U.
Yep.
And then got into the real world and said what?
So I was gearing up actually to apply for PA school, physician's assistant school, and there's just so many required like hours of work you have to do. So I got a job as a research coordinator at the orthopedic center downtown.
Cold calling? What is that?
Coordinating the research projects.
Sorry, I dropped out. I tried to enroll. I enrolled like 3 times to different universities.
Yeah.
2 weeks in at Snow didn't work. 2 weeks at UVU twice didn't work.
Hey, you
got to explain this to me like I'm 5, right? Like that's no. So
I was graduated. So orthopedic center is essentially kind of a small hospital that's run kind of through the University of Utah. They do orthopedic surgery there. Yeah. So they're constantly doing research for any different thing, any types of surgeries, treatments,
so whatever. You figure I'm going to stay somewhere within the world of what you would just studied your 4-year degree, and you're going to start putting in the hours, start researching, start like actually putting in the hashtag time into being a professional.
Yeah, I had to build a resume so when I put applications in, I could beat out the thousands of people that were trying to go to PA school.
Okay.
So I almost fell asleep when I told you all that, because to me it was the worst. I hated it. You know,
what kept you in it as long as you did?
Well, I actually didn't do that for very long. I did that for probably less than 6 months, and just was gearing up to apply and just felt like, you know what, I can't even get excited about applying. Like, how am I going to go do this hard schooling?
Was and that then actually scary for you, or was it like freeing? What was that?
Freeing. Honestly, I stressed a lot.
Because I think that was my biggest fear, right? Yeah. I remember, and I talked about this on the last episode, I remember I made my first decent chunk of money. It was my first $10,000 a month in closings, right? Where I made my first $10,000. And I remember looking at it, I remember thinking like, dude, I don't love mortgages.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't, but I liked it as much or more than school, which I had just enrolled in for the 3rd time trying it. Like, hey, this time is going to be the time, because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yep.
And I got a decent amount of money. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm in on this. Like, I'm done with school. And one of my biggest fears was going through school and saying, hey, that was fun, but I want to go back into being a mortgage lender, which I should have done 4 years before. So what was that feeling?
No, I mean, it took me 5 years to graduate from college, mostly because I had to sprinkle in some classes that I had to take, prerequisites for PA school that weren't like in my degree. So I did all that. I mean, I did the whole thing. I went through and did a science degree, which was tough. And it really just came down to like, man, if I can't even gear up to go apply, which is supposed to be kind of the easy part, like I can't go do this career. Like, maybe I'm not in it. You know, I had some other issues with the medical field that just bothered me, like income cap and things like that, I knew I couldn't reconcile kind of knowing my income for the rest of my life, and having
unless
no
you
ability,
got really lucky or something, right?
I knew I wouldn't have much ability to like change that, or be like, you know what, I'm gonna kill it this year and just make twice the money I made last year. So that not being there was tough for me. Hierarchy in the medical community just turned me off completely.
Interesting.
So that kind of turned me away from that.
Which is tough, because you couldn't have known that going into it, right? You couldn't have known those things without...
You experience it.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked as an orderly in the operating room when I was 18.
Yeah.
And met a lot of really cool surgeons and people, but got firsthand view of like, man,
real life.
I am like dirt. You know, like I walk in here and like these guys have like 20 years experience in school. Like, I'm dirt. They're cool, but like I saw the hierarchy in front of me, and you rise to the top of that, and it's just a weird thing in the medical community. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be cool with that.
So why real estate then? Where was that transition?
Mortgages first. So I was on a basketball team at the time, just like a rec league with some guys.
You're 25, 26?
Yeah. Yeah, 25 probably. And we had a game, you know, on a random Tuesday night or something, and they all had to miss. And I was like, what do you got to miss? Like, oh, it's end of month. Like, we're closing out a lot of deals. We got to go work late. They were at Ran Life Home Loans.
Shout out.
Yep, shout out Ran Life. So that was my first introduction. And at that point in time, I was kind of like, wow, like I'm not doing the medical world. Like, I haven't even thought about anything else. So that was in front of me. They had an opportunity. Ran Life hires a lot of agents or loan officers that are kind of inexperienced, new to the business.
They have some great training opportunities. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was like, sure, that's a real life job. You know, like I'm out of college.
That's an adult thing to do.
Yeah. I got a family. Like, we're about to have a baby.
Did you know you were overqualified carrying your degree on with you?
I probably hadn't thought about it much at the time. You
have since though, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I know in this business, there's not a lot of guys carrying around a degree.
Well, and not a lot of buyers and sellers actually care, which is. Thank you.
I use my knowledge gained almost never.
Yeah.
It's cool to have. Like, I know some stuff about the body that helps with my kids and things.
Do you feel like it was wasted?
No, not at all.
How do you keep that perspective?
It gave me a lot of confidence, to be honest with you. To finish that degree, it's hard. Sucked half the time, right? I mean, it's not fun. I didn't like the things like that. So it's like to finish something hard and to do well at something that's really hard, lots of science classes, things like that. It's a confidence booster. I learned like how do I learn? Like, what's my process? How much effort do I need to put in to learn something really well? So to learn all that about myself was huge. I mean, I started to learn that stuff on my mission.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but that's like such a spiritually heavy, there's not a lot of personal development, right? That's a totally different episode in and of itself about what you can get out of a Mormon mission. But I look back on that time as like that was a unique 2 years where I could really focus on spirituality that I had never done in my entire life.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't about those types of things. It wasn't. The mission was hard, but I didn't look back and think like that was the hardest thing that I've. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't. Schooling would have been totally different, and I think I love what you're saying because that all scared me. Like, I wasn't ready to do those things, and I wasn't ready to address that. Like, dude, if I get to the end of this and I want to end up right back here where I already am, I'm gonna be pissed.
See, I honestly don't know that I ever considered or thought that I would get to the end and I wouldn't do what I had planned on forever. Maybe that was some naivete on my part. Maybe you're just so engulfed in it. I don't know. But, the mission taught me a lot, but then you translate that into just grinding. You know, you're in college and you're making your life at that point, or you think you are.
Yeah.
And, I was surrounded by people that are way smarter than me. I mean, way higher than 27. You know what I'm saying? Like, brilliant people that are naturally gifted in ways that I just was not. Like, I like to think I'm a smart person, but like naturally super brilliant, definitely not. It took a lot of work, double, triple the studying to get, B's and C's, and then they got A's, because they could leave the lecture remembering everything they just heard.
Yeah.
So that.
But I think I feel fortunate for anybody that does feel bad about missing any of that stuff. If you're willing to put yourself through a similar education, which I think you probably have since you got into the business, just listening to you talk. Yeah. That's the biggest difference between, I think, this job and going to school is you can get the same education in this. You just have to, like, at least for me, I feel like I had to put myself in those situations to learn certain things. Nobody's going to sit here and say, this is what you need to study today. This is what you need to learn. This is the test that you're going to take to be good at it. So walk us through, you go through, you get into mortgages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I take a job with Ran Life. They train me up. They get me licensed. I'm licensed in, I think, 5 states. And I'll tell you what I learned that year. A, I didn't like mortgages. B, I'm a bad employee. I'm a bad employee. Like, I hadn't had that many true jobs to that point in my life. I had my first job, like, my senior year in high school, and then, a couple through college and stuff. But I learned that, like, you
didn't want to be a career employee.
No, couldn't be. I was dying. Like, a desk job, because that's what that was. I mean, you can be a mortgage guy now and not have it be a full desk job.
It takes a long time to get your business to that level, I think, though.
Right. But it was a desk job. It was a 9 to 7 desk job, and I hated it. Yeah, I hated it. And I would get to closings. I'd look at the HUD statement at that time and see what the agents were doing. I was like, dang, dude, I'm on the wrong side of this.
Well, you mentioned earlier, right? And I want to bring that back up because I love having this type of conversation with different agents. When you were in school, and you were looking down the barrel of a gun, you knew that ultimately you were going to be told, I make this much money per year.
Yeah.
And there was going to be very few exceptions to that. So I'm sure that was something of a carrot jumping into mortgages.
Oh yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, wait, this real estate agent just did the exact same transaction that I did. Same transaction, same amount of time, same, I mean, without understanding everything that goes into getting buyers, I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm just saying the transaction lasted about the same amount of time.
Yeah. Well, and for me, it was like, man, they got to meet these people too.
Like, that's what I think it comes down to is like, I I hated calling, this is your interest rate, this is your closing cost, is there anything that you can do? No, the government told me how much your interest rate is. Like that's, there was nothing, it didn't matter. There was no, this is the part of the job that I love, and you don't get that when you're the lender.
No, and I missed that. I was like, I'm getting to the end of this transaction, and I can hear just in talking to these people, like, that they know their agent, and their agent knows them. I don't really know you. You know, I've spoken to you on the phone a bunch of times. Like, I know your income and all those things.
I know your financial security. I can tell you the last 4 of your social security number. I can tell you your last 2 years of residency.
Your blood type and all that. So, like, it was a combination of things. It was like, you know what? Like, I don't know that, like, I have a super ability or knack for this, that, like, it could be fun because I'm really good at it. So it was like, I miss people. I miss being out and about. I hate the desk. And so I actually, first of all, was going to go take another job with another mortgage company because I felt like, you
thought it was just the environment.
Yeah. I thought, you know what, because they paid a small salary, it was like $1,500 or something at the time, plus some bonus points and things. There was some obligation on time.
Yeah.
You know, and so I thought, oh, maybe I'll just go to one of these other shops that I can do it the way I want to do it. Go out and meet with agents. Go to
lunches, play golf.
Yeah.
Do the schmoozing marketing side of it.
Exactly.
Which does exist, but it's a small portion of what your business has to be.
Yeah, it's not in your second
year. As a lender. Yeah, it's not.
So I interviewed, I don't even remember the name of the company, but I had a few spots that I was like, let's go there. But I told my wife, I said, you know what, I need like a week.
When did you get married in all of this?
I got married.
Because I think that is super, we've had like a weird couple of months where having somebody's support and balancing work and is a totally different. When did they get in? What's your wife's name?
My wife's name's Jolene.
Jolene.
Yep.
When did you guys get married?
2010. Okay. So she actually put me through my last year and a half of school. I was a lucky dude.
Shout out
sugar
Jolene.
Mama. Seriously.
What was she doing?
Photography. She still does photography.
That's awesome.
So she put me through my last year and a half. It was awesome.
Men, schedule your family portraits right now for Christmas.
Yo.
It's time.
Jillian Taylor Photography. No, it was a huge, I mean, blessing is the only word for it, that like she was doing well enough that I could just really focus in on that last year and a half. But so, you know, by the time we got into all this, like she was there. I mean, she's been along the ride and, you know, drove a lot of it for us. So I told her, I said, I need a week to look into real estate. Like I can't jump in and like go full force into loans, like unless I'm.
Well, you had already at this point had the conversation, carry me for a year and a half so that I can go do this very specific job that I've been going to school for 4 years and I will be adequately trained to do.
Yeah.
And she said, bet.
Yeah.
And then 6 months into that, you're like, hey, sweetheart.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah, I hate this.
I want to go be a loan officer.
Yeah.
You had already had that conversation with her. And now less than 12 months later, you're saying, hey, give me a week to look at being a real estate agent.
Yeah. And truthfully, I mean, she's always supported everything I do and still does. But I look back on that period of time because she was pregnant. We were about to have our first kid. And I have to think that there was some naivete there or just like, man, we had balls. I'm just going to say it. Like we had balls because to jump into real estate.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a guaranteed.
This was what year? Sorry. I know you've.
I got into mortgages in 13.
Okay. Which stuff's just kind of starting to recover.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of scarring. There's still a lot of bruises left over.
We were not like to the point where the market had fully come back to values pre.
It still wasn't sexy to be a real estate agent at this point.
No. So there was, I don't know how we did it or why we did it, but I told her I need a week. I called up Johnny Christensen because he actually was my mission trainer. So we've known each other for years and years and years.
That's funny.
And was just like, dude, like I just want to get into real estate. And so I had.
Was it the money?
Yeah, partly.
That's okay to say.
I can't lie. Like I saw the HUDs. Like I said, like I knew what they were making.
Yeah.
But the lifestyle, like everyone says, like you get into real estate, for freedom and flexibility. It's like, yeah, if you're not doing any business, right? Freedom and flexibility if you have nothing going on.
Uh-huh.
So that was an initial draw. I was like, I just want to own my own time. I want to do it how I want to do it, knowing that I'd probably end up working more than a 9 to 7 anyways, but at least I'd do it because I wanted to. So there was several draws to it, but that just seemed like a good fit for my personality. So I got licensed. I told the lender I'm not coming. I got licensed in 14 days. I just plowed through the education, got licensed. I think I closed my first deal within my first 2 months because I was a solo guy for the first
So you didn't sign up under Johnny originally, which at the time was developing some cool things with Red Sign and starting to do some really cool things in real estate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in Davis County. They're in Utah County. And so at that time, the team was not, I won't say it's not international, but how do you say interstate? I guess they were still in
Orem, right?
Yeah. So expansion was just beginning.
Do you need a drink?
No, I'm good. Expansion was just starting to be a topic of conversation, or maybe it was before.
They were just getting their feet planted and
starting to kind of like put roots in other counties and things. And so it took a couple months to have that materialize. I was around them all the time because I only knew them down there. I decided to put my license in that office again just because I knew him. I didn't know anyone in Davis County as far as Keller Williams goes. So it just kind of materialized that they were like, hey, you know what? We're expanding. Like, you're a gem that fell into our laps. Like, you're up there already. Like, let's go. So
get that out of your way. Sorry.
But yeah, I started solo. I have no memories of that time. I'll be honest with you.
What happened?
I have no memories of the 2 months I was a solo agent prior to the team.
No idea what you were doing every day. No idea. Just jumping through as many hoops as you could to try to make it work.
Yeah, just doing what people said, talking with people.
Everybody has an opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody has an opinion. Like the amount of agents right now that I'm watching make content for other real estate agents, I'm like, is that your demographic?
Yeah.
It's everyone's an expert right now, and I'm sure it was no different back then.
Oh, I mean, and we've talked about this already. There's kind of like a golden agent, if I have to say it that way, like a way the agents do this that gets really propped up that I believe probably leads to success, but they kind of want you to just become that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are saying this is the way that you can be successful, and it's the only way that they've ever known how, which is completely fine. It doesn't take away from their success, but it also might not be the perfect situation for me.
Yeah, it's like, and I did that for years. I mean, I tried to live up for years up to that checklist of like what makes a great agent. Like, what are the activities you have to do?
Who would you say you looked up to in that first year? Who were you looking to for those?
Clay Winder. Shout out Clay.
Yeah. What were they doing that you were like, okay, I got to start doing this. I got to do this in my business. I got to do this.
Well, it was just kind of, I mean, obviously part of being on a team is you receive lots of training, lots of, obviously leads and other things like that. Like, they really help you.
We've had them on. They're fantastic.
Yeah, they're great. I loved my time with them. I was with them for 4 years. It was amazing. There's just a lot of like, here's your schedule. You don't have to do it. I mean, obviously I'm still my own boss, but it was like, if you're going to be successful, like, here is kind of generally like a schedule of an agent. And so you listen to it because it's Johnny and Clay, and obviously they're huge successes and they know what they're talking about. And then Keller Williams really supports that on the back end, kind of saying, yeah, this is, you prospect 9 to noon.
Yep.
Like, you prospect every day. And you hear people are like, oh yeah, I know this agent who's been in the business 40 years. They're still prospecting. I'm like, that sucks.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds exhausting.
Cool for them. Like, props to them, but like, no thanks. I'm not going to do that. Hope by then that I'm so overflowing with referrals that I don't have to do that.
But until you have a better option,
you do it.
You do what people like, people show you how to do, right?
Yeah.
Like the strategy of rip off and duplicate has been the most effective shortcutting method that I have ever implemented in my business.
And it's just smart to do that because, like, did I know what I was doing? No, I did not. I mean, I knew what I knew from the lending side. So, like, I generally knew the job probably more than most agents getting in because, like, I had seen the job and I knew how they interacted with lenders and things.
You were probably a lot more confident going into it because you were established, you had been to school, you had done some of those things.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I did mortgages for 3 years, one of which I actually took seriously. I'm 23. This is why you should hire me.
Yeah.
I know I look like I'm 11, right? You came into this with a little bit more experience, a little bit more, wanting to turn this into a career, right?
Had to, just had a kid, and you've had kids, like that first one hits hard. You all of a sudden just feel that it's like they're not that expensive when they're that age.
Man, we talk about this all the time, but we didn't have this. We had the same conversation that I think you and your wife did when I said, hey, listen, and my wife came into this not understanding to the full extent the family dynamic that was at play. I think now if I was to ask her, like at the time I was making 6 figures, right? And I could probably sustain what we were doing. Like it was a very realistic living that I was making. And for her that grew up with nothing, I think if she could evaluate everything again today, she would have been like, hey, listen,
we're good.
We're not doing this just so that you can go prove something to your dad. But it was a very similar situation to what you were what you went through, where it's like, we definitely had the conversation.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the full extent of the conversation that I should have had until all of a sudden I had a kid, and I'm like, hey, it's a good thing that I made this work, but I did not jump into this. I did not tell you everything that was going on going into this, because I had no idea.
No, yeah. I mean, you kind of don't know what you don't know, you know, and now, like, in the years since, like, I've mentored and kind of helped a lot of agents get into the business. That was like a huge role I had, like, on the team, is some recruiting, and just, so I've seen, like, the agony some people go through to make the decision to, like, leave their job and come into this. And I'm kind of like, man, what was I missing? I didn't have a moment of agony.
Had nothing. Like, I wasn't leaving anything. You know what?
That's true.
Like, they're like, burn the boats. I'm like, what boats, man? I don't have anything. True. I remember I had a lawsuit served against me because somebody tried to, like, they made I need to figure out how much I can actually say. They didn't like certain things that I said when I was put into certain situations. Yeah. And they thought that their offer wasn't accepted for certain reasons.
Because of you. Yeah.
Because of certain reasons that they were born with that they can't change, that they thought I actually cared about.
I gotcha. Okay. I feel what you're putting down. Gotcha.
And it ended up getting thrown out. The state looked at it for a second and they're like, wait, is this really what happened? I'm like, yeah. They're like, there's nothing here. Don't worry about this. Yeah. Right. It was a pain in the ass to go through. But I remember I got a call and they said, hey, technically, yes, your license is at stake if, like, this goes through and everything. And I'm like, listen, I remember I called my broker, who I don't interact with a ton, and I said, listen, man, I don't have a backup option. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm not making this much money doing anything else. I'm not living this lifestyle doing anything else. You got to help me, man. And we we ended up getting it thrown out. But, like, this job has been so good for somebody that has probably some of the similar things that you and I have that make us enjoy this job, is probably what you had to get to a certain point at through Clay and Johnny, but ultimately you ended up going and doing this yourself, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I learned a lot from them. Like, I'll never talk bad about the time I had with them. Like,
And you're still at Keller Williams.
Still at Keller Williams. Yeah. Yep. I'm just up in the office that's in Layton. But learned a ton, did a ton of business, and just felt like, you know what, like, I am ready to spread my wings. I mean, for lack of a better phrase, like, I'm ready to go do this. Like, I'm feeling cramped now, and, like, I need to go do this the way I want to do it, you know, which is the way I've done it. I've just been opportunistic, met great people, made great relationships, and, you know, enjoyed meeting them, but also had some cool opportunities come my way because of that, and just doing it the way I want to do it. Like, if I have to start doing this another way, like, I'll stop doing it. Yeah. That's just you know, I'm to the point in my life with my family and things that this can't be a source of, like, negativity in my life. Like, I've got to do it the way that feels right, that I love doing it with the right people in the right time. Otherwise, it's over.
And that doesn't mean that Clay and Johnny were doing it wrong at all. It means that no. And I think that this often gets left, but people, I've been asked why I haven't left Edge. You heard my little brother when he came in, he goes, somebody asked me, how do I do this? And he goes, listen, all I know how to do is Edge. Yeah. I've said the same thing. I don't know how to put a house on the MLS. I've probably done close to 500 transactions now in 6 or 7 years, and I've never once put a house on the MLS myself. Yeah. Why? Because Edge pays somebody to do it so that it looks good, and it wasn't me that did it. Yeah. They have certain things in place that if I was to go off and do my own thing, I don't know how to exist outside of this. And luckily, Edge is a fantastic space that allows me to do my business how I want to conduct my business. Sure. What were some of the things that you weren't aware of, though, that all of a sudden you became, like, I think they're probably great for helping keep a schedule. Yeah. Like helping with lead gen. Yeah. Helping with events, helping with different things, like helping you run your business like a business. What would you say are some of the things you've kept that you still do from there, but now you're kind of doing your own thing, what your business actually looks like? Just kind of, I've not really worked with leads much since then, but just like the ability. Paid leads? Yeah, with paid leads, really anything raw outside of just SOI and things like that. So that's kind of carried my business. But, you know, the ability to follow up the way in which you follow up, just the systems kind of in a CRM type of thing. So like that stuff, like, was very valuable to learn. I had also never put a home on the MLS. You know, they have a transaction coordinator. So there's a lot of, like, the little nitty gritty of the business that hits you. Like, wow, I've got to go get signs and lock boxes and just little things like that, like, it's not hard. You figure it out. But but if you're an agent that's complaining about your splits right now, you need to be very aware of what that money is being spent on. And for me, I don't get paid. I think you probably understand how we get paid, at least to an extent. You've been in the business long enough. I have not made it 3% on any of the transactions that I have ever done. Yeah. I have never made, and I never will, under the Edge umbrella.
Well, yeah,
am I okay with that?
What they're
Yes.
doing for you in the background, like it's either you pay it out of your commissions or you pay it after your commissions. Like either way, your net bottom line is going to be similar. And
well, until it's not, right? Until you're
not.
like, you know what? I'm paying for leads. I don't feel like I need to pay for leads.
Yes.
Why? Because I'm going to put money in my business into this, and this. But be very, very crystal clear before you make that decision what your money is being spent on, because it's probably more than what you're thinking it is.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from leaving a team or anything.
No.
I think that it kind of got sexy for the last couple of years. You had a lot of inexperienced agents in the business. You had a lot of brokerages saying, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. And you kind of saw a lot of brokerage hopping in the last couple of years and team hopping in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Listen, get crystal clear on what your team is providing. If you don't feel like your team is providing the right thing, interview teams until you find somebody and say, hey, these are some of the things I'm looking for, or figure out how to put them into your own business and understand, hey, this is what my business now has to look like if I don't have a team supporting me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I honestly, huge proponent of a team. Like I love teams, and if I'm talking to new agents, most of the time I'll say, you know what, go get on a team, because like they're going to teach you things like with a bit of a net underneath you. They have a vested interest in you not failing. So that's a good thing for new agents. You know, like for me, it was just like I never left that team until I could look at the data from the few years past and say, you know what, like I'm confident I could project what my income could have been those years with just the stuff that was pure me.
Yeah.
And to the point where it's like, okay, I don't have time to work these leads anymore because I'm working enough business otherwise, to where it was like a lot of the pillars and things that a team would stand on, I had my own pillars down, right? It's like I had set my own foundation. So like,
this was what year when you decided to leave?
End of 18.
Red Sign.
End of 18.
So going into 19, this was when I would say, what would you say real estate agents were doing at the time? What would you say it was like to be a real estate agent in 2019?
I was just gearing up for the craziness we saw the last couple of years. I mean, I obviously didn't know that, but the timing of it was pretty good for me because it went into a market that was welcoming to real estate agents, right? It hadn't quite gotten crazy yet, but it was gearing up for that.
It was.
Like we thought it was crazy. Like we were talking like, wow, this is a crazy market.
Because compared to 2018, 2019 was a better year.
Yeah. So,
but they were projecting more, right? Going into 2019, 2020, numbers were looking like it was going to make 2018 look slow, and it did, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it was a great year. I mean, honestly, tripled my income in the first year. So it was like, that was my validation. I'm like, this was the right decision for me in the right time for my family. We've never looked back. It's been a huge, again, blessing to like get into a situation where we could thrive kind of on our own. My wife's been a business owner for 12 years. So it's like, it wasn't foreign to us to know that like, wow, we've got no paydays on the books, like no paydays on the calendar. Like that's a life we had kind of lived with her business. We knew what it was like to like have huge months, slow months, but how you got to make them work. You can't act like you're a millionaire because you had a big month. Yeah, and you can't start chasing. Like you see a lot of ups and downs in this industry, and I would love to get your take on this. 86% of agents don't make it through the first 5 years, and I think kind of what you're talking about is it's the ups and the downs. It's you leaving your team thinking that you're going to triple your business or triple your income, and you are. But if you did the same amount of deals and you think that those deals are just going to repeat themselves, they're not going to. You have to reinvest back in your business, and people sometimes realize that too late, right? Why do you think that 5 year, 86% or less? We've both been in longer for 5 years, so I feel like we're established at this point. The stat that I thought I knew was that actually 90% of agents don't make it out of the second year. Interesting. It was like 75% in the first year fail out, and then another 15 in the second year. And that may not be accurate anymore, but that's what I've operated under, but we'll call it 5 years. I think it's the inability to see the year as a year versus the month as a month, right? It's like, I mean, if you're good in real estate, you're no stranger to $100,000 month, right? I mean, that happens. But a 0 month, like that can happen too. And it usually follows up the big month. Yeah, because you shoved everything into that month. Yeah. So, you know, the foresight to kind of say, you know what, like what we did, I can only speak to what we did. You know, we said, hey, we're gonna have all of our money hit this particular account, and then we know we're gonna pay ourselves a wage to our LLCs out of that account the same every month. Covers our our expenses and all that, but like we're not going to take, a $50,000 check and just like, we're going to put it here and we're going to pay ourselves every month.
How do you use that method to put money back into your business? Right, because obviously you're not paying the split that you were under a team.
Mm-hmm.
So now you technically have more money coming into the business on every transaction that you close. Technically, you're still gonna have to pay for TCs. You're still gonna have to pay for different costs associated with closing a deal that you might have been paying for in your split ahead of time. Where are you currently putting money to reinvest back into your business as an agent in 2022?
I just have like an overall business account. I have a credit card obviously linked to that. So I just throw everything on the credit card that's a business expense. Obviously, that helps to write it off and things like that.
Well, how are you choosing what to spend money on? It's probably a better question.
I would say I'm pretty lean and mean. Maybe some perspective. Like when I left the team, I kind of was like, you know what? I want to run lean and mean a little bit here and cut not necessary costs. Like there's necessary costs you have to do, but like, I wasn't interested in a lot of the fluff anymore.
Yeah.
That I was paying for. At that time, I was like, I don't need to pay for that. Like, I can go lean and mean. So I would say I'm less that way right now, but that's kind of carried through here. So honestly, I don't have a ton of outside expenses. I have a TC. Obviously, you got to pay someone to do signs and lock boxes and things like that. I have a CRM, things like that. Those are necessities, things you have to run a business.
Yeah.
And honestly, just this last year, I finally like put myself back into doing like events. I mean, it got weird during COVID for a while. People weren't really doing as many events, but those are valuable.
And the market made it so that you didn't have to. That's why I think
that's true.
Getting specific and saying, what are you choosing to spend your money on now?
Yeah.
Because I think for the next 12 months, 18 months, you're going to see a lot of agents
doing more of that
rebranding. You're going to see a lot of agents saying, hey, I'm back, because for 2 years you didn't have to. And the ones that do it sooner rather than later and start putting that money back into their business are going to be the ones that come out of this thing first, right?
Yeah, I think what I'll probably do and what I've already started doing, I did one earlier this year, and this, shout out Red Sign, they kind of taught me the way on this, like movie events.
Yeah.
Anything I can do to just get people that I love and people that I've worked with or that I want to work with together in the same room, come from contribution, give them a date night out. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but it's like, it is something. And just be there with them. Just get to see them in person and chat with them. Like, that's huge. And that's the way I want to run my business. Like, no thanks on the cold calling, but like a couple $1,000 on a movie event 2 or 3 times a year. Absolutely.
Spoil them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's the Jimmy Rex theory, right? We had him on, and that's what he talked about. Find your 300 to 400 people and spoil the crap out of them.
Yeah, come from contribution, which I think you do a really good job at, which is like
I appreciate
education, putting stuff out there. Is like, if you're contributing to them with no expectation of anything back, like that's the type of person that remembers you when it's time to buy or sell a home, and they want to call somebody. They remember that you've done things for them and you've never really asked for anything in return. You've just been there to offer them your expertise, a movie, a pumpkin patch or whatever. I mean, they're not huge things, but that's going to be a pillar of mine going forward. I did a lot of that with Red Sign. So that's where I'll put a lot of money, is just making sure my people feel the love from me.
Yeah. And I think that's where agents, I mean, myself included, right? That's where if you didn't spend money on clients in the past, I think that there was a lot of people that were doing it out of ignorance, not out of like trying to skimp on spending money on clients.
Yeah.
But I do think, and it's going to sting right now because you're not selling as many houses, and it's going to hurt a little bit more because your interest rates have gone up, and you might not be as confident about where that next deal is coming from.
Yeah.
But there has never been a time, where you spending $1 on your business will mean more than going into the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's all perspective too, because it's like, if I have to spend $300 ahead to get a deal that's going to pay me way more than that, that's always worth it.
Don't look at it short-sighted.
That's always good math.
Yeah.
Like, I don't drive the most economical vehicle right now. Again,
it's okay.
It's because I want it and I like it.
It's okay.
But I'm like, you know what?
What do you drive?
G63.
Nico. Nicest car we've had on the show so far? Probably.
Knocking them down.
That's that 27 on the ACT.
But I look at it, I'm like, I had to think through that to make some sense of it and be like, man, okay, if I have to spend $300 on gas for a buyer that's going to pay me a lot more than that, that's okay.
There also comes a point. There also comes a point, and I love vehicles. I don't mean like I
love them.
I spend a lot of time in mine, and that is one of those places where if you're going to spend some time in a vehicle, enjoy it, because whatever it costs you to enjoy it, you can make more by enjoying it and not having to stress about certain things, man.
Dude, I mean, there's not a price on happiness, and I just found like if I got a good pair of sneakers on my feet and I'm rolling around in something that makes me happy, I'm good. Yeah. Obviously, there's family stuff, which is before all that, but that's good. You know, like personally, if I've got some things on me that I like I'm a happy dude. Well,
so how have you balanced running a business and being married and being a dad? Because I think that is something that is really difficult to do at times when you feel like, hey, I don't know, especially right now.
It's tough.
I got really good for a little while about putting my phone up and having do not disturb on and some of those things. It's amazing how quickly the market changes my habits, and all of a sudden I'm like waking up at 9 o'clock going to bed at 9 o'clock and then waking up 2 hours later just to check my phone to make sure a buyer didn't potentially text me and want to buy a house all of a sudden. Like it can never happen.
It can easily get unhealthy.
Yeah. How have you set those boundaries and having and done this while raising a family?
I mean, I have to first admit I'm not perfect at it. You know, I've worked from home most of my career. I mean, given that, you know, I was out of an Orem office living in Bountiful, home has been my base for most of the time. I've had off and on times in offices, but for me, I'm just like, you know what? My wife works a lot. You know, we have 3 kids. So I built myself a nice, beautiful office in my new home, and it's like, that's where I work.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, that's where I work. And I've definitely had moments where it's really frustrating, where I'm running away from kids, shushing them, hiding in the bathroom to take an important phone call.
Yeah.
But then just lately, like my boy was popping in my office the other day, and I could tell he just wanted some attention. He just wanted some love. And it was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
It's cool that I can pull him up in my lap and like continue doing what I was doing.
And it doesn't matter to the person
and it doesn't matter.
With.
And COVID's
and if it
COVID's
does,
brought
man,
a lot
I'm not
of that.
working with you.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's who I am. And COVID has changed a lot of people's minds on like what it looks like to be a professional. Like if you have a kid running around the back of your Zoom, like
absolutely,
that's reality.
Yeah.
Like welcome to, like I have 3 kids, like I'm not going to hide it.
Yep.
So, you know, for me over the years, it's just been, you know, I have to charge my phone or put my phone elsewhere instead of by my bed. And I'm not perfect at that. I'm not even currently doing it, but it's like, that's been one thing that's helped is like when your office and your house are the same thing, it bleeds into each other.
It will naturally.
Yeah. Like if I'm in the middle of a crisis with a deal, but there's a diaper to be changed, like sometimes I don't make that mental shift.
That's not your call.
You know, like, but sometimes it is my call.
Yeah. And,
you know, sometimes
it takes a lot to get to that point, I would say.
Yeah.
To hit that natural.
Yeah.
It took me a long time not to feel like, listen, I'm trying to, this is a very important work call right now.
Yeah.
If you could help me with the kids that like, it doesn't help at all.
No.
It took me a minute to learn that though.
Yeah. And it's frustrating as it can be and as challenging as it can be. I mean, blessing. Yeah. Dude, like growing up.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem to have. If you were told when you were 10 that you'd be able to make as much money as you're making, more or less working from home with all your family around you, doing what you want to do, traveling, like sign me up all day.
Yeah.
So I have to remember that when it gets frustrating. Like my kids are 8 and younger, so it's like there's a lot of noise and things.
We call these good problems to have.
They're good problems to have. In the moment, they feel like problems.
Yeah.
So as much as I've wanted to kind of get out of the house and into an office, it just doesn't make sense for me.
It'll never be the same if you do.
No, I got into this business partially to get away from the desk. So like, why am I feeling like I want to run to a desk? No, like I don't want a desk. Like I want to do big deals from my couch occasionally, you know, my nice, beautiful office, things like that. Like that's how I want to do it. So that's how I'm going to do it. You know, and if it comes to a point where it's like, you're in the office, we'll see you later.
We'll figure out how to make this business work for you.
Yeah.
Well, dude, you've been awesome. We appreciate all the wisdom, all the insight.
Appreciate it, man.
You're a great agent. I think anybody would be super lucky to work with you and be a part of the business that you've built, because I think you've been super deliberate about it. So congratulations to everything that you've built, dude.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah.